back in the Isle of Man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. You had a good time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I always have a good time.
Yeah, good stuff. And a Kermode. So when your family knew a lot about. Well, you were aware when you were young that your family came from the Isle of Man, yeah?
Yeah. So it's not unusual in America for people to like talk a lot about like their heritage. So like most people I think would probably know, where their grandparents and their great grandparents came from, and a lot of the time that's not necessarily America. So my dad always talked about. His dad must have had a lot of Manx pride because it came through. My dad talked a lot about it, so we all knew when we were growing up about the Isle of Man.
So you aware that Kermode was a Manx name and stuff like that?
That part I it's weird, but I wasn't, or I didn't make the connection until a couple of years ago. I knew that it came from McDermott.
Yeah.
And I knew that was originally Irish, but I thought that somebody had clipped it in Ellis Island.
Oh, right.
Because that would happen a lot. That's like where, it was a stopping point for a lot of immigration into America, and they changed a lot of names there. So I thought that's where it happened. It wasn't until the last couple of years that I've been like learning more about Manx and the Manx language, where I was like, no, this is actually, that was the name in the Isle of Man as well.
So why did you, I imagine a lot of people in America with Manx or heritage, you don't realise it really. Like I'm sure a lot of people with Kelly probably all just think they're Irish and stuff like that.
Sure.
So what made you decide to come to the Isle of Man then? What made that leap from just knowing a bit about Manx heritage to come to the island?
Yeah. Well, I had wanted to come for a while. We made a trip to Ireland about, I don't know, maybe like 12 years ago. Myself and my son and my parents and my sister came and my grandma, and we thought about coming to the Isle of Man, but it was going to be too hard, I think, to get all of us on the ferry or something. So we didn't go, and since then my dad has passed, and so he never got to come.
Yeah.
So actually, after he died, I said to my mom, like, we should just go. Like, we should go and check it out and, spend some time. It was actually like a year after he died. I thought, I don't want to be at home.
Yeah.
Just bummed out.
Yeah.
So let's go have a trip. So that's what we did. So the first time was really because of that.
And your mum's family, they Irish then?
Mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly Irish.
So when you came to the Isle of Man then, how did you find out about the language?
Well, so yeah, I had known just a tiny bit about that before we came, because I was trying to like brush up on my French.
Yeah.
And I was doing a podcast. The people who do that do other languages, and they had Irish and they had Scottish Gaelic, and I thought I would go ahead and learn a little bit of Irish for my Irish heritage. So starting to do that, and like really one of the first things that I read was about sort of like, the branches of the Celtic languages, and I had not known before that Manx Gaelic was a thing. So I saw that, and then I decided, okay, it's not going to be Irish right now. It's going to be Manx. And thankfully, there was a lot of stuff available for me to learn. So.
Yeah. And has coming to the Isle of Man then really helped your Manx?
Oh, absolutely. So when we were here the first time, I knew like just a couple of words. So I saw a couple of signs, and but I wouldn't say that I had the language then. But once we went home, I decided like, okay, I'm gonna actually like put my mind to this and do it. And then it was a year after that I came back, because I wanted to, but also because I had done a lot of the online learning. And I'd gotten to the point where I was like, if I don't speak this to somebody, I'm not really going to make the jump.
Yeah.
I can read it, I can, write it, but I'm really nervous about speaking it. So I knew I was going to have to try. And I didn't have lots of opportunity to do that at home. So,
what would you give as advice to someone then? Because there are quite a few people outside the island, and even in the island, who might be learning it independently. Mm-hmm. Jerry, what advice would you give to them?
When you think you're stuck, don't give up, because if you keep at it, you'll get it. I've found at least that there seem to be always people who are willing to help, so don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be too hard on yourself. Like I still am nervous sometimes about speaking it, but I really had to get past this idea that like I wasn't going to speak until I felt like it could be perfect. I mean, that's just a disaster philosophy for trying to learn a language, right? Like you just have to make mistakes. So get over yourself, maybe.
Yeah, I know. I think that's probably the best advice possible, actually. Just sort of, sod it and speak, really. That's
is going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you learn more when you make mistakes, too, because that's when you figure out, it'll stick in your head when you've made that mistake. And repetition. Like, I just do stuff over and over and over again. And I think also, like, you'll get out of it what you put into it. So if it's your goal to, have a couple of words, you can do that.
Yeah.
If it's your goal to be able to talk to your child, you can do that. If you want to be able to read, novels in Manx, like, you can do that. It just depends on how much, how much time you're going to spend on it. So I spent a lot of time that first couple of years, and I still do, but, I will say I at the beginning, I was like coming home from work and like that's what I would do after work for a couple of hours.
Right.
So when people are like, isn't it weird that I have to own that I was like probably spending more time on it than the average person.
Yeah, but you're right. You put in, you get out of it what you put into it, and really.
Yeah.
Guramaid, Chen Yindasak, Guramaid Morid.
Yeah.